Hi, we've already opened our meeting and participated in executive session, but I'd like to also once again ask for verbal attendance of board members starting furthest to my left. Please state your name for the record.
Vasilio Supos.
Scott Nelson.
Jim Baumstark.
Julie Moon.
James Dolan.
Alex Kamilevich.
All right, thanks everybody for coming. And we are now going to move right away to our public hearing. We will now enter our public hearing meeting. For verbal attendance of board members starting furthest to my left, state your name once more.
Vasilio Supos.
Scott Nelson.
Jim Baumstark.
Julie Moon.
James Dolan.
Alex Kamilevich.
Thanks. Now we are in our public hearing for Special Education Comprehensive Plan. We have a total of 3 opportunities for public comment tonight. The first opportunity will be during the public hearing on the district's draft Special Education Comprehensive Plan, which we are about to convene. If you wish to make a comment about the district's draft Special Education Comprehensive Plan, please make it during the audience comments portions of the hearing. If you wish to make a comment about some other matter unrelated to the public hearing, you may do so during one of the 2 audience comments portions of our regular meeting, which will begin at the conclusion of the public hearing. This public hearing, convened by the Board of Education of Glenview School District 34, regarding the draft comprehensive plan, right here, to educate students with disabilities once the district is a standalone special education entity upon its withdrawal from True North Educational Cooperative 804. At this time, I'll turn over the hearing to Dr. Dane Deli, Superintendent, and Assistant Superintendent Caceres, to provide information and updates on the draft comprehensive plan. Dr. Deli?
Thank you, Mr. Nelson. Welcome everyone who's here this evening and who may be viewing from afar. I do have some slides that I'd like to share, both by way of reminder and information for all of our interested audience members. Do you want to cue that up? Thank you. So as part of our public hearing, we wanted to follow the slides here and share some information with you. Just a quick review. This topic has been a part of many board meetings over many months. So simply, we wanted to reiterate the fact that we have had a relationship with the True North Educational Cooperative for many years. Our evolution as a school district has really allowed us to improve upon our capacity to serve students in their home district and to the greatest extent possible in their home schools. We have talked about the financial impact of our current relationship with True North and our interest in ending our membership relationship with the cooperative. We've also updated progress along the way. You can see the many different board meetings that we have spanned over quite some time now. It's important to also review that we have taken the time, not only because it's best practice, but in accordance with the Articles of Agreement of True North, to really look at our internal capacity and our ability as a school district to serve our children. And we have been doing so since 2018, very deliberately. Just some examples. We have added staff in our buildings, including assistant principals, occupational therapists, physical therapists, coaches, other staff members, parent community facilitators. There's a strong focus on strengthening our systems for all students, integrating and comprehensive systems, our instructional life skills program, Preschool for All, social and academic readiness, our SOAR program, increased community partnerships, and increased professional development offerings have all been a part of the initiative that has been taking place for several years now. We're very proud of our work. We also conducted an external evaluation of our programming in the district. So we hired an outside consultant to come in as a third party, an objective third party evaluator of the programs and services that we offer children and families in our school district. Some highlights from that include Glenview District 34 has the organization and structure to maintain a system of support that meets the needs of students with diverse learning needs, specifically those identified as eligible for an IEP or a Section 504 plan. Various programmatic options exist for learners with complex needs, and a full array of related services and support services are available. Some numbers that we'd like to share. These are not new. We've shared this in previous board meetings and other communications. District 34 currently has 0 students that are enrolled in True North programming. Our special education coaching services that are accessed through True North, again, 0. So we're not using that service. We have no students currently placed in the cooperative. We are, however, required to pay indirect fees to True North that are approximately $540,000. That number only increases over time. So you can see in that chart on the bottom that it's very realistic to think that minimally a 3.5% increase plus would be applied to any subsequent years of membership. For those who've been following our efforts here, this timeline looks very familiar. This depicts simply the last 12 months of activity around this initiative. This includes board meetings, communications that have been had, other public statements that have been made, proclamations, board resolutions, and the alike are all outlined in this slide. So next steps. Member districts, now this needed to happen by February 16th. I think our last board meeting was the 18th, so the deadline actually fell just a couple of days before our last meeting. Member districts were required to bring District 34's resolution and petition to withdraw to their respective board meetings. They had 60 days in which to conduct a vote. So that was concluded. A unanimous vote by the member districts was required in order to authorize our withdrawal from the cooperative. That was not obtained. The final votes, as we understand them, were 13 school districts voted in the affirmative to allow us to withdraw from the cooperative. 4 districts voted no, which ends, that particular pathway that we were pursuing. We're here also then on the 18th, the school board approved a resolution authorizing the appeal of True North withdrawal petition disapproval decision. So we did that at our last school board meeting. And on March 18th, we're here this evening holding a public hearing on our comprehensive plan to educate students with disabilities. And our next step would be to appeal to the Maine Township Trustees of Schools. And so there'll be further work that is done on making application for that once we get through this evening's meeting. So with that, I believe, Kristen, you would like to speak a little bit to all of the work, and I should say thank you to you, to your team. There have been a whole host of people who have been working very hard over several months compiling this comprehensive plan that is now a part of a requirement through the state. But I'll let you speak to that part.
I also
Thank
want
you.
to thank our parents and students and staff for helping us to find out that this is the path we need to be on.
Thank you both. And so we are here tonight to talk about our draft special education comprehensive plan. Over the past several months, as mentioned by Dr. Deli, we've been working very hard on the development of our comprehensive plan. Although it's a required part of this process, it was really helpful in self-reflection and taking time to examine our system. So there was really a lot of positive that came out of this too. The goal of the plan is clear. We have to answer the question: can we demonstrate the ability to provide a free and appropriate public education for a wide range of students with disabilities? That's what the plan is about. So the final draft plan is available tonight for viewing at our back table. President Nelson also has a copy of it there on his table, and it is available at the district office and has been all month. Please, everyone is welcome to view that and give feedback. We really value your feedback. So for the development of the plan, we are guided by some requirements that are embedded in the Illinois Administrative Code and also relevant portions of the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act. So that guided our plan, but the plan is much more comprehensive than that. It's about 600 pages, as you can see from the two binders. And I want to just kind of give you an overarching view of some of the requirements that are embedded in the plan. So one of the requirements is that we have to talk about applicable state policies and procedures. We have quite a few procedures and policies that address special ed programming in the district. So when you go to that section of the plan, it will include things like what are our policies and procedures for child find in determining if students need to be brought forth for a suspected disability. What are our policies regarding our evaluation process? What is our IEP programming? How do we provide extended school year if that's what is needed to provide a free, appropriate public education? What is our process to ensure that we are servicing all students with disabilities in the least restrictive environment? So that's embedded in both state policies and relevant portions of IDEA. We also have to show through our draft plan a continuum of program options for all students with disabilities. This is probably, in my opinion, one of the most important parts of the draft plan. It's a really important section because it describes our programming in district and support that we can access if a student has needs beyond what our district can provide. And so in that part of the plan, you'll see our program options on our continuum. We provide consultative services as part of the IEP process. We provide direct resource support. We provide direct instructional support, and we also have specialized programs, as Dr. Deli had mentioned. Our Instructional Life Skills program and our SOAR program are part of our district programming. The comprehensive plan also describes our partnerships with private therapeutic day schools in the area and ensures that we have a full continuum of services for our students with disabilities and that parents have input into the educational planning process. So please, if you're able to review our comprehensive plan, that's a really important part of the plan. Another part, probably not as riveting, is our special education forms. We are required to be compliant with law in terms of our special education forms, so you'll see through our IEP process that all of our forms are compliant with law. So that's some of the overarching content of our plan, but it's much more, as I mentioned. And so in the plan, you'll see an overview of our administrative structure. You'll see a lot of statistical documentation, including how many children do we serve with IEPs, what disabilities by category are represented in our district, what is the presence of qualified personnel to support our students with disabilities. The plan describes our financial resources, the number of related service staff, who you'll hear from in our presentation later. We have to make sure we have a robust continuum of support to service our students. Dr. Deli mentioned that in addition to the comprehensive plan that we developed, we also use a third party, Dr. Christine Sepial, to also get sort of her view. Are we competent to service our students? And she gave us very favorable reviews in all areas that we do indeed have the supports necessary to have our own programming. And so that's kind of an overarching, I wish I could go through all 600 pages. The plan is available for public viewing if you have time tonight. I will stay as late as anyone needs me to stay, and it's also available at the district office. We really want feedback because that's what helps us grow, so all feedback is appreciated.
All right, now we're going to move along to audience comments. This is within our public hearing, an opportunity for audience comments regarding the Special Education Comprehensive Plan. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship to the district. Please keep your comments at 3 minutes or less. And please know the board will be taking notes, but we will be in a listening mode only, and an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We also ask you only submit one comment per opportunity. Rebecca, do we have any comments?
We have several comments, and just to clarify for those in the audience, we're starting with our public comment for the public hearing, and then we'll move to the other public comments once our board meeting begins. So the first one is Dan Bosnos.
Thank you, guys. My name is Dan Vosnos. I'm a former educator, administrator. I left public education due to the birth of my son. My son is a 6-year-old boy who's incredibly talented, loves to read, loves playing basketball, and he just so happens to have Down syndrome. That does not define who he is as a person, so that's kind of why I lead with a lot of the things I said about him. We specifically, being a former Glenview resident, specifically chose to move back home to my hometown due to the inclusive nature and the inclusive desire to educate children like my son, who I call have unique abilities rather than disabilities, in an educational setting that best fits their needs. And I think after coming in last week and reviewing the plan with Kristen, just seeing the comprehensive plan that the district laid out for 6 years, right? I don't consider it like an off-ramp. I consider it an on-ramp. And everything was done very purposefully to include kids such as my son and his other friends in general education classrooms, which is to be commendable to the district. Kids learn best in their home school, and it's not just good for kids like my son, but it's great for everyone in the classroom, it's great for everyone in the school, and it's great for everyone in the community. When you set the bar high in education and you challenge kids in their home school, in general education classrooms with the supports, they're going to thrive. They're going to thrive. They may never reach the pinnacle, right? But they're going to fall somewhere in between. And the district has demonstrated that this is something they believe in, and I commend the work that you guys have done, right? You guys have clearly talked to every stakeholder possible, right? Made it crystal clear that this is something that you believe in, and I believe firmly in the decision you guys are making as leaders. And you guys have included parents, stakeholders, and everyone in this process. So I'm in full support of educating all kids in their home school. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comment.
Next up, we have Penelope Hurtado.
Hello, everyone. My name is Penelope Hurtado. I have 2 girls in the ILS program, Yetzali, who is 10, about to be 11, and Jolson, who is 9. We have been, since Yetzali started school, started with NSSED, and now that they are both in their home school, it has definitely been a change in scenarios as far as Yetzali being able to make connections not only with her peers, but also with the community. And me as a parent being able to be involved with both of my girls' education. I'm also the BPAC, the Spanish BPAC president. Because of that reason, I wanted to make sure that everybody in the community felt included. And I think that you guys are doing an amazing job at just making sure that all of our kids feel included, not only in the school, but also in the community. So I'm loving the fact that you guys are wanting to just keep all of our kids in their schools, in their home schools.
Thank you very much for your comments.
And next, we have Shannon Hartinger.
Good evening. My name is Shannon Hardinger, and I'm a physical therapist here in District 34. I've been a school-based physical therapist for 19 years now, I believe. I started my career with NSSED/True North, and for much of my career, I was in and out of schools every day, and sometimes going to see a student for 30 minutes and then leaving. And when the opportunity presented itself to become full-time in District 34, I jumped on it. And I jumped on it because for the last part of my time at True North, I was placed here in Glenview, and it was kind of the first time where I felt that I was a little bit more than a physical therapist. I truly felt like an educator. I felt like I was part of so many dynamic teams, and that's grown tremendously in the last 3 years. You know, I've seen all the things the district has done to build capacity to support all learners, and I think the best thing for me is that I get to have an impact on all of the kids in our district, not just the ones on my caseload. And that wasn't possible before. There's so many opportunities for coaching. I feel like I am a coach. I also coach soccer, but I feel like I get to bring that part of my life into the schools by coaching teachers and coaching teams, working with parents and everyone, just so that we can support all of our students, no matter what their unique ability is. And so I am in full support of this, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Coach Shannon. She coached my daughter in soccer.
And finally, the last card I have for public comment for our public hearing is Karen Hitzman.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Karen Hitzman, and I'm a former parent of District 34. For the past 6 years, I have worked as the district parent and community facilitator. I'm here tonight to express my full support of District 34 withdrawing from True North. I've been involved with the district since 2009 and have had the unique opportunity to utilize the services of True North and to experience the evolution of inclusion in District 34. I have a 19-year-old son, Joey, with cerebral palsy. When he first arrived in the district as a preschooler, he was receiving physical therapy, occupational therapy, and assistive technology services from then NSSED. As the district began providing these services in-house, I immediately noticed a strong and very positive shift in access to services and in the continuity of the support he was receiving. Specifically, it became much easier to address the day-to-day issues confronting my son's ability to access the academic environment. For example, if he was having issues with his hand braces, AFOs, wheelchair, it was much easier for the OT or the PT at the school to make the adjustments as necessary. Previously, the school had to contact True North, make an appointment to schedule the service or adjustment, and then wait for the service appointment, a process that often would take more than a week, as the True North therapists provided services at many other schools. When the shift to in-house services was made, these issues were addressed immediately with little to no impact on my son's day-to-day access to academics. Another important benefit to having our own staff provide therapy services and assistive tech support is the continuity of service providers. When Joey was a student, the provision of his therapy services was inconsistent. At times, there was a bit of a revolving door of providers. For example, he could lose a therapist mid-year and have to have a sub or replacement to provide the services he was used to receiving. Also, providers would change yearly almost, and there was always quite a learning curve to get to the place where he was with the new therapist. In my opinion, these issues caused either a stagnation of growth or a delay in the growth until the replacement therapist was up to speed. As District 34 began providing these services internally, these issues were essentially eliminated, and our students have had the benefit of a cohesive and accessible team. During the past 6 years, as my work with the district continues, I have seen incredible cohesiveness and the seamless provision of services to our students. All of our members of the student team are aligned with the District 34 culture and are readily accessible to address problems as they arise. On a final note, I feel compelled to mention that District 34's commitment to inclusion truly changed my own child's life, and I attribute his success in college to this dedication to inclusion. The inclusive culture at District 34 truly fosters a mindset of collaboration and adaptation to our students that can carry them into adulthood, preparing them for the diverse work environments in our communities. In sum, I'd like to reiterate my support of District 34's withdrawal from True North.
Thank you very much, Karen. Do we have any more comments? Thank you for the comments. Superintendent Deli, Assistant Superintendent Caceres, do you have anything you have to add? Any closing comments?
Not at this time.
All right. Does any board member have any comments?
I just thank everybody for coming out and for sharing, and also thank you to all of the team members for putting that together. The comprehensive plan is indeed comprehensive.
And listening to the personal experiences really solidifies everything. So thank you for that, all of you.
I was just going to say, it's interesting that we call it a plan, because whenever I hear plan, it makes it sound like something you're about to do, but in reality, this is like a recap and a summation of what we've been doing and it's kind of like the cherry on top, just to put it in writing. So I think it's important to highlight that it's something that's been in the works and being implemented already.
This is my 6th year on the board, and it's so fun seeing us get to the path that we've started a long time ago. So let's keep working, because the work continues. We're not there yet. So thank you very much. All right. If that's enough, at this time, we'll close the public hearing on the draft special education comprehensive plan. May I have a motion and a second to adjourn the public hearing?
So moved.
Second. Baumstark?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? No. Motion carries. We are going back to our regular meeting. Thanks. All right. We move along to our approval section. We have the approval of our agenda. Can I have a motion and second to approve the agenda?
So moved. Baumstark?
Second, Moon.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Now we have the approval of the February 18th regular and executive session minutes. May I have a motion and a second to approve the regular and executive session minutes?
So moved, Kamalevich.
Second, Dolan.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kamalevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have our communications section. Dr. Daly?
Yes, thank you. We have some special guests in our audience this evening that we are here to recognize this evening, and it's the Those Who Excel Awards. The Illinois State Board of Education sponsors the Those Who Excel and the Teacher of the Year program to honor educators who have made significant contributions to our state's public and non-public elementary and secondary schools. District 34 is thrilled to recognize 3 individuals this evening who were nominated, applied, and recognized at the state level for the 24-25 school year. So I have 3 names and just a couple of comments I'm going to mention on each person. I would just like, for right now, the individual to stand while I'm speaking so that we can see who you are and get eyes on you. And then when I'm through, we'll have everyone come up and take a picture, and we have a certificate to give. And my understanding, too, is we're going to give you an opportunity to go into our swag store and select something of your choosing as a thank you and our sense of pride expression. First, Amy Frederick. Amy, you just want to stand up so we can get eyes on you. Looks like you have company, which I'm thrilled about. Amy Frederick is a Student Services Coordinator at ATIA, was nominated in the Administrator category, and received an award of meritorious service. During our meeting tonight, you will also see Amy's name appear for approval as Hoffman's new Assistant Principal for Student Services. Amy, we're very proud of you. Congratulations. Next, Marcelo Yunda, Spanish EL teacher at ATIA. And Marcelo was recognized in the Early Career Educator category and received an award of meritorious service as well. Marcelo? Also, Penelope Hurtado, our BPAC president, who you heard from a little earlier, was recognized in the Community Volunteer category and received an award of special recognition. Penelope, congratulations. Before we get you up here, I just want to also mention we had 3 additional members who were nominated in some other categories. Lisa Hoy, 3rd grade teacher at Pleasant Ridge, was nominated in the Teacher of the Year category. Mary Spallina, ILS Education Associate at ATIA, was nominated in the Education Services Personnel category. And Adrian Hoffer, Instructional Coach at Lyon, was nominated in the Student Support Personnel category. So for our award winners, can you come up to the front for a picture? Thank you for that. And now, we have a presentation that we'd like to share with you. We're very excited to have some of our colleagues and others here to help us. The presentation is Ready Body, Learning Minds. And Kristen, would you have a few introductory statements to make?
Sure. We'll tee up the PowerPoint, and it is with pleasure, Dr. Deli, that we share information about some of the innovative programming that's happening here at our district. I'm going to invite the team up to the table so that they can introduce themselves. It's a good-looking team. And we'll start with Shannon with introductions and your role in the district.
Sure. Hi, Shannon Hardinger, physical therapist.
Rachel Hearn, occupational therapist.
Haley Gargula, school psychologist.
And Patrick Hoff, principal at Westbrook.
So we are indeed excited to share information tonight about Ready Body, Learning Minds. And this programming is a really true example of programming that breaks down the silos and integrates all aspects of teaching and learning. It began as a GEF grant, if you want to forward through to that slide, and a GEF grant that was awarded in the spring, so that's how it started. And then it includes our student services team, and it really shows how involved they are beyond just servicing individual students, that they're really part of our system, our responsive system. It involves Tier 1 curriculum, innovation, and most importantly, as you'll see, it shows kids engaged in their learning. And although we're early in the implementation, we're already seeing longer lasting effects throughout the school day. And I'm going to turn it over to Natalie to talk a little bit about strategic plan alignment.
Thank you. Ready Bodies, Learning Minds, or RBLM, as we have been calling it because it's a mouthful, is a great example of the many ways you will see our strategic plan in action in our schools. As you saw on the first slide, the objective of the program is to cultivate the complete child, which directly aligns with our district vision of creating learning opportunities to develop the whole child. The presentation, as it gets going, you'll also notice that the program aligns with many of the goals in the strategic plan. Two of the goals that we've highlighted here are building that sense of belonging and well-being with our students, and also creativity and innovation, and really fostering agency, inspiring engagement, and achievement for our youngest learners. So I will turn it over to our lovely team.
Awesome. Thank you, Natalie. So what is Ready Bodies, Learning Minds? We'll say RBLM probably for the rest of the presentation. As Natalie said, it's a mouthful. We like to say that we're in our RBLM era for any Taylor Swift fans out there, because really this is something that we've really embodied at, especially at Westbrook this year with some of our preschool learners. Ready Bodies is a series of fun and play-based movement activities that are designed to build a strong foundation for learning. And we are going to start by showing just a short video of Ready Bodies in action. Thank you. So Ready Bodies, Learning Minds is a comprehensive approach to understanding how sensory integration and motor control drives learning, and therefore really the performance of our children. One thing to note is this is not a program that we developed. Rachel will talk a little bit later about how the program was developed. This is a program and curriculum that we are adopting and also tweaking and making a little bit more of ours as we kind of navigate the process in today's world. So just want to note that it is not something that we developed. We want to give full credit to the developers of the program. It's something that we are implementing. So it is a program designed for all students, and I think that's the beauty of this program, is that any student can participate in this program. We have students as young as 3 in our preschool program. We've worked in this program with students as old as 2nd grade thus far, but really the possibilities are open to anyone. And it really has specific exercises and activities really to target all the different systems of a child. The base of the program focuses on primitive reflexes. We'll talk a little bit more about those as we go. There's a lot of science behind those. We're not going to spend a ton of time talking about that today, but I think it is important to know that there are exercises that students do. If students have not integrated their primitive reflexes, these exercises will help to do that. But in addition, even if students' primitive reflexes are integrated, they are still great activities for a lot of different reasons, which we'll explain. And I think one of the things we focus on is that we really want to teach students how to move their bodies so that they are learning how not to move their bodies when it's time to learn. So far, the implementation in preschool, we do the full motor lab, which we'll talk a little bit more about, 1 time a week under the direction of myself and our preschool occupational therapist. We have weekly motor groups, so all of our preschool classes, our AM and our PM sections, they all come into the motor lab. They go through the entire program in a 30-minute block, and that occurs 1 time per week. In our kindergarten classes, all of the classes were taught the key exercises across our 3 primary buildings, Henking, Lyon, and Westbrook. And we've started to integrate the stations within PE class. So our PE teachers have started to integrate not only the key exercises, but also some of the different stations with using the equipment that we have here. And we've done a lot of building-based professional development. This is where the coaching hat goes on. We've done several trainings on Ready Bodies and look to do more. We're really focusing, obviously, on the rollout this year, but talking about what the program is and then really getting into the why behind it and connecting it to academic growth and success.
All right, so you can be asking, why would we do RBLM? Can't we just do exercises, and can't they just go to PE class? But what this program has really worked on is designing purposeful and intense movements that have good intent for it. And so if you look at the graphic of a building, there's the scaffolding, and the locomotor is the scaffolding, but all those other pieces help bring up that cognition in the middle. And so that's really why RBLM is important and different than just the PE curriculum. And then just to go over the history a little bit, like Shannon said, this was developed in the 80s down in West Texas by a physical therapist who, similar to what we were just talking about, was spread across many, many, many rural districts and really wanted to look at how she could impact all of the students that she was working across all these districts, I mean, covering hundreds of square miles. And what she was finding in the 80s, car seats started, and that developed container babies, babies that were sitting in a position or in a bowl for a long time and they weren't learning to move. And then this also emphasis play, and then what she started doing as she was rolling out these exercises across the district she was working in, they started to see a correlation in kindergarten readiness and academic skills, and started to look more and more at the research of, is it more than just a correlation? And today, the pandemic kind of did that same thing with these container babies. These kids are on screens, they're on tablets, and really not doing as much emphasis of play. And we're still feeling those effects of COVID today in our classrooms. And so this is really getting these kids learning how to move their bodies.
So the components of RBLM, as we've touched on a little bit, are the 4 key exercises. As you can see, our superhero, popcorn, giraffe, and rocking horse. These are exercises that can be done anywhere. We could all actually do them right now if you want, but we won't make you do that. But they're very simple exercises. We call it superhero instead of Superman, but these are things you may have seen when you're doing your own workouts. But very simple exercises that can be done anywhere. we had some preschool students who started doing them on the playground one day, which is great. We want to see that. Obviously, they're learning and having little exercise class outside. But then really what we're here to talk about is the motor lab. And that is a very intentional, task-oriented, it's like circuit training for kids. And it really, again, like we just talked about, targets all of the systems of a child. So here's a little bit more information about our key exercises.
All right, so you can see these are the graphics, and these are the graphics that we use within the classroom. And at this point, all of the classroom teachers are doing these. We, as the therapists and the RBL team, are not implementing them. The classroom teachers are doing it. And it looks at, if anyone's ever done yoga or mat Pilates, it's very similar. It's taking one set of muscles and making sure that they work on the other set of muscles. But these really help kids break out of the like the reflexes that they might not be able to do. For example, just really quick, a baby, when they go to reach, their hand goes out like this when they look. If a kid goes to write and they still have that reflex, it's going to be very hard for them to write because this hand is out here. And so these positions help these kids learn how to move their body and break through that reflex.
And I think even, as I mentioned earlier, for kids whose reflexes might be integrated, if you look at some of the targets of these exercises, we're really looking at building proximal stability. We hear a lot about core strength, its connection to postural control, its connection to motor control. And so I think we, the teachers, feel excited about also targeting those activities or those areas so that students are just a bit stronger. If they're stronger proximally, they're going to be able to do things with their hands, which includes write. So our lab is set up in very much a circuit form. Each of the different colors represents a different system that we're targeting. As you can see, I put an example of one of our weeks. So for instance, our tactile station includes this really awesome tactile tunnel, which we talk to the kids is like crawling through peanut butter, or it's crawling through kind of like a Lycra vest, but the kids love it. It's better than crawling just through a regular tunnel. It's giving their bodies a lot of input. We have some kids who explore the tunnel, but by the end of it, most of the kids are going all the way through it. We've had many of our adults and teachers try it as well, so it'll be here if anyone would like to. One thing that's always out in our motor lab are the vestibular boards, and I kind of put one out here. It is a spinning board, and just really, it's something that's always out. The students have an opportunity to spin themselves. If a student is unable to spin themselves, we can help facilitate that. What's really cool to watch is that students may have a hard time being able to push to spin themselves when they start, but now they're more independent in doing so. And then just a couple different activities, as you saw in the video as well. We work a lot on balance. We work a lot on eye-hand-foot coordination. And again, just really looking at all of these different activities and how they're targeting all those different systems. The students in our motor lab spend 2 minutes at each station, and they're in small groups. We've got visuals. So these visuals, if you want to hold those up, we've created these on our program that the district has called Lesson Picks. And so we've kind of taken the exercises and adapted them. Each group has a paint stick with all of the different stations, so they know where they're rotating. It's been really fun to watch their independence in navigating through the motor lab, but we've got a lot of supports. We've also, our associates and our teachers are so engaged during these activities as well, and it's just been a really awesome way to support all of our learners.
So our overall goal of the Learning Lab, or the Motor Lab, is to help students be ready to learn when they come into the classroom after doing it one time, or even after over time going to the Motor Lab over and over. It's helping them to navigate their environment. It's helping to improve handwriting. Like you said, we teach them to move so that they know how not to move when that's needed. So they're sitting still, they're paying attention, their engagement and communication is increasing. Another goal is to stimulate their sensory system, building that structure so that they are able to gain those academic skills, and then improve their ability to control themselves. Self-regulation is really kind of the core of what we're aiming for here.
And as Haley mentioned, the sensory systems that we are impacted, and this is really where I think the difference between just doing, PE curriculum versus this program comes into play. So the sensory systems we're dealing with a lot at school right now. Classrooms are not quiet and still, and so there's a lot of integration of the sensory inputs that are needed, and RBLM helps that. So tactile is that sense of touch. We use that a lot for writing. Vestibular system, it is our movement system. This is when kids are moving around a lot in their seats. This gives them that ability to help sit still by being able to move like that. It also helps with written stuff too, like copying, standing in line even. Proprioceptive is your GPS marker. It's you knowing where you are in space and how far away you are from someone. This really helps with the kids navigate the school day. It helps with using enough pressure when they're writing or cutting. It also is very important for that visual motor foundation for math. Visual, that is your visual stuff, understanding the left to the right, reading and writing. We use our visual system all day long at school, same with auditory. This helps kids filter out that background noise so that they're able to attend by doing these purposeful activities throughout the lab.
With each of our stations, we create a slide that looks like this that we send to our teachers and our teams. So it really gives them an overview of what the activity is. And then I think really so that we can connect it back to the classroom, we always like to include what the focus is and why we're doing that. Like we talked about, it's intentional, so what we're trying to gain by having them crawl through this crazy tunnel. So we wanted to just mention, we've worked a lot with our PE teachers, we've worked a lot with different teachers within our building, and this is some of the feedback that they've shared.
Yeah, so we're not going to read through all of the examples, but in PE, our teachers are seeing that doing this routine is helping students participate, it's helping their socialization, their self-regulation, and that they're really engaged and focused when they're doing this. And then in preschool, we're seeing that students are excited to do this, that again, that focus and regulation is increasing, and then it helps them to be more independent because they're learning how to follow a routine. And then finally, in another preschool classroom, they're seeing that students are able to sit and engage in an academic activity for longer periods of time, helping them to access their education.
In a moment, Patrick will talk about some of the hard data, but I think one of the things that we're seeing observationally is here, thinking about the routines. So just thinking about like all the routines that our students have throughout the day. This is one way that they're getting practice with moving to different activities on a time, understanding like at preschool, we always say hands on top, that means stop. And so the kids are understanding that expectation. It's really been a great opportunity for some small group learning. Even with our littlest friends in preschool, we've seen a lot of like leadership opportunities coming out. Independence has been a really big one. We love the social, we love the chit chat that happens. Sometimes it might deter them from doing an exercise, but we love seeing those social connections. The kids are always helping each other, which is great. For math, they're working on their counting as they're counting reps of different activities. It is helping because there is some teacher direction here. So it is kind of helping students understand that sometimes there might be teacher-directed activities that they have to follow through with. And then, of course, one of the biggest things is just seeing their participation has just been really awesome to watch.
And I think, too, just going back a little bit, the team is represented here just with a small core piece, but the team is much broader than we can fit at this table. It's all of our kindergarten teachers. It's really all of the administrators across the primary buildings in preschool. And some of the growth areas, too, is just not only what we just shared, but just the professional development that's taken place in such a short amount of time. Really not having this plan in place prior to the start of the year and coming to this point where we're not presenting and talking about all of the growth that we're seeing. We've grown so much in such a short amount of time, and it's all built on the excitement of this is what our students need, and this is what our teachers want, and that buy-in is really coming from the ground up, and we're really starting to see it. So while I have the joy of sharing some of the boring data, it really is more than just what we can present on a screen. You really have to feel it, you have to see it, you just have to know and be a part of it. And I think the leadership that you've seen from this team, it goes above and beyond. But please know, it's not just this team, it's far greater with the support of our district as well. But in preschool, we really look at Teaching Strategies Gold. It's observational data that teachers collect on students, and really we collect on a variety of different domains, really 26. I've just pulled a few, but you can see that really this is just a part of the comprehensive plan, right? We know that this is a need, and this does fill that need, but it's so much more than what's going on with routines and expectations and just really great teaching that's happening everywhere. I think the buy-in from kindergarten teachers really about intentional movement breaks inside of the classroom and starting their morning meetings each day with some of these core exercises to really meet those needs goes far and beyond really what we can capture in numbers, but the numbers certainly help. And really, what's next is we want to just continue to build on the excitement. Again, this was such a short timeline this year for the implementation, and I can't say enough about these individuals just taking leadership because the impact they're having is far beyond caseloads. It's far beyond just the students that they're kind of working with individually. It really is impacting 3 buildings and a preschool program. It's pretty vast and it's wide, and it's only happened in a short amount of time. So really, what are we looking for? We're looking for continued implementation, probably at a broader scope as we go into next year. We're looking at expanding just some of the teacher training, some of the why are we doing this? It's a pretty intense training that everyone that's been involved has gone through. It takes hours of training to just understand some of that science that we went into and why are we doing this and some of the impacts that it's had. We want to continue to monitor student outcomes, maybe at a little bit more detailed level. That's just one of the things that we haven't been able to do in this short time of implementation. And then really we've been talking with all of our PE teachers, and minimally we're going to incorporate it into kindergarten PE about once a week, depending kind of on how units fall for next year. But a lot of that is the summer planning and some of the planning that really takes place in the next month about building schedules and allocating space and having some of that training that's done over the course of the summer to have that full implementation that comes next year. But again, I can't say enough about the individuals that are here and just the support that we've had to implement across all 3 buildings.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions or comments?
I have a comment. First of all, thank you for the presentation. I think as adults, sometimes we forget that kids don't learn the same way as we do. We expect them to sit still, right? To me, this is one of the few things that I've seen that I wouldn't even need qualitative data to see if it succeeds. It makes intuitive sense to me that kids need to have purposeful movements to learn, not just run around the gym, right? I wouldn't mind seeing something like this happen in the intermediate schools. I mean, even at that age, as you know, I'm at the schools all the time. I watch kids explain something and they're pacing. They have a hard time controlling their movements or they're not aware of them. So this is great work. It makes a lot of sense. And my last question is, who's wearing the mascot?
I was the panda. No, I was the lion. I was the lion.
I have a lot of bloopers I can show you, don't worry.
I was going to say,
the
the
next
outtakes
video.
are hidden. Thank you. I think when we first wrote the grant, we wrote it preschool through 2nd grade. I think we realized that was a monumental task, so we scaled it back and only wrote it for preschool and kindergarten. But I think now that we've hit the ground running, we can think about how to expand it in the future. So thank you.
I was just going to say, it looks like a lot of fun, so it's awesome to see that it's actually having a lot of benefit. Not just fun, but fun is also helping to learn. So thank you all for even exploring this as a pilot, and look forward to hearing about how the expanded implementation success goes as we start to branch out.
Thank you. Anyone's welcome to join us Wednesdays all day.
I was
in the
just about to say that. You know you're always
At
invited
Motor
to come to
Time, you're
Westbrook,
always
so
invited.
please take me up on that opportunity.
Yes. We will put you to work, though. Thank you.
So wait, you guys wrote a grant for this program, so you actually believed in it, and it's actually showing that it works. So I'd also like to thank the GEF for sponsoring the first year. We always talk about the GEF as our R&D, and we got a lot of members on the board here who were probably presidents of GEF, if I recall. So we love to partner with them, and we love to see that it's working, too. So thanks for everything you've done. I hope you could implement this even into upper grades.
Thank you.
I could use this.
We'll be here anytime.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, now we're at our audience comments. This is the first opportunity for audience comments in our regular meeting. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward, and they'll be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship to the district. Please keep your comments at 3 minutes or less, and know that the board will be taking notes, but be in listening mode only. An appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. We ask you submit one comment per opportunity. Rebecca, do we have any comments?
We do have several comments. The first is John Carlisle.
Good evening, members of the board, Dr. Deli, and staff. My name is John Carlisle. I'm a resident. I have two children in the district, one at Glen Grove and the other at Westbrook. My first comment tonight is related to an action item on your agenda for your consideration, and it's the approval of the All-Town General Transportation Contract. I'd like to start by providing a few anecdotes just here from 2025. The first was Monday, January 6th. The Glen Grove serving bus was very, very late in the morning and in the afternoon. Called All-Town directly on both of those days and was told in the morning that the reason they were late is that they neglected to start the buses over the long holiday break and that they were having equipment problems starting up. And they apologized, but they were still over 20 minutes late. The student did get to school. The afternoon was worse, though. After the bus was a few minutes late, I called All-Town to figure out what was going on, to learn that they tracked the vehicle, and at the time it was by Niles West High School on Oakton. This was well after school dismissal time and after the drop-off time. So with that particular vehicle that far away, my daughter was not going to be coming home anytime soon, so she and everybody on that route just waited at school for well over a half hour before they were brought home. So this is a vehicle that wasn't even in the right suburb. Here's a second story. Thursday of last week, March 13th, also the route to Glen Grove, this is the morning route, was ultimately more than a half hour late. And that was after, we're standing out there. We call All-Town standing at the stop, and they say it'll be there in 4 to 5 minutes. A notification text did go out, which we appreciate, warning of a significant delay on the route, but we had already been standing out there for several minutes. And I don't want to over-criticize staff on this. I believe that they didn't hear from All-Town that there was a problem until, after the problem was out of control, so past the point of us being able to get a timely notification. Luckily, at that stop in the morning, there's another student and a parent who wait with us, so they were able to walk my third grader to school, and I could go back in the house, get my kindergartner ready to get on her bus, which comes in an hour. And that brings me to my third point, which is that we actually do have a lovely experience with the bus driver who takes our kindergartner to Westbrook. Very reliable, very kind, absolutely no issues. So I want to be fair and just say that my family's experience with All-Town is quite mixed. But with that, I think there are ways to hold them more accountable than my impression is the district is currently holding them accountable. So I want to make a couple of suggestions. The first is to, in every instance, not some instance, but every instance, enforce the penalties in terms of the contract when there's documented lateness, whether that originates from a direct complaint like those that I've given, or perhaps in a data-driven manner, where we're tracking where vehicles are at various scheduled time points along their routes. There is a provision in the contract that allows for this, and I think it's very, very important that it be enforced, and that it is evident from invoices that if they're obtained by the public through FOIA or any other way, that those penalties are being docked off what we pay them. And then to speak to a data-driven and transparent solution, there are tools available and ways to present in the field of transportation a vendor's performance. I understand school busing.
Sorry to interrupt, you're at over 3 minutes, so we'll just ask you to wrap up.
Okay, I'll just be succinct to say that I understand it's different than, say, public buses, but publishing a dashboard or a regular report on the homepage for district transportation, I think would be very helpful. Of course, throw out bad weather days. I want to be, reasonable, and there are extenuating circumstances, but there could be some more information available there, I believe, that would hold this vendor accountable.
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you. I do have, can I roll right into the second? Thank you.
Yes, you can.
So this is on a more general theme, not specific to Alltown, but just on contract awards and my understanding of the custom of the flow of how a contract is awarded, and that there's a discussion item one month and then an action item in the following month. Discussion item is posted online with an agenda, or a staff memo, some background, and then the actual award month, there's less information, usually just the ordinance or resolution for approval. I do appreciate Mr. Miller being responsive this week and kind of explaining some questions I had about a particular procurement and award, but I'd like to make a couple of suggestions for ways to provide additional information on contract awards. The first would be when publishing materials for a meeting to include the full bid package or the contract terms in their final form, and to do that for both the discussion item and the action item, so it's a little easier to find. Further, I would recommend that in the actual staff memo, there be some kind of breakdown on bidders for contract awards. I've come to learn that some rules have changed. I don't know the intricacies, but there's maybe a change under state law for not having to always take the lowest bidder. I actually think that's great. I'm glad to hear that the district has some flexibility in awarding contracts on qualifications, experience, technology, and other things. But, look no further to some municipal units of government, like the Village of Glenview. You can look in their staff memos. You will see at least a table that breaks down who bid, what was the amount of the bid, all of that stuff. It's there. It's easy to find. I did watch last month's meeting. There was some discussion of the contract. Board did ask a couple of questions of staff. I feel like there could have been some more detail that came out of that meeting somehow, whether in a written material or maybe in that discussion. And so doing something like that would be really helpful, I believe, for the public and for the taxpayers to know what's going on. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments.
And additionally, we have Chrissy Felton.
Sorry, no problem. Oh, I see. Good evening. My name is Chrissy Felton, and I'm the parent of a 5th grader at Pleasant Ridge and a 1st grader at Lyon. I'm also very passionate about a movement called Wait Until 8th, and I've been helping to spread this message around Glenview for about the last 6 months. First, I want to give just a very brief explanation on what this is, because I think that everyone may not be familiar, and I also think there's some misconceptions out there about it. So basically, by taking the Wait Until 8th pledge, parents commit to waiting until at least the end of 8th grade to get their child a smartphone. The pledge is not asking parents to not get their child a device at all. There's plenty of alternative devices, watches, things like that. We're focused on not getting a smartphone specifically, iPhone, Android, those kind of things that have internet, social media, all that kind of thing. We're basically, kind of encouraging parents to do this just because of all the recent data that's come out about the harmful effects that these devices are having on our kids, mentally, academically, and socially. So for those of you with older kids, I'm sure many of you felt pressure to get your child a phone because, everyone had them, and all my friends have an iPhone, and, it's really hard to be the one parent that's holding out on this. And so that's why this pledge is so powerful, because if a group of parents take the pledge together, it's just a lot easier to hold out as a group. If your child's friends all don't have a phone either, then no one's being left out. So the reason I'm here tonight is because I just kind of wanted to express some frustration with the district's current policy on the way we can inform parents about this pledge. So my understanding of it is that we're not allowed to have like a standalone table at school events to inform parents about it. And the principals, from what I've been told, cannot include information on it in a school newsletter. And I do understand that the district doesn't want to make parents feel that they're telling them what to do in their own homes. Like, I'm a longtime teacher, and I get there's like a line that you don't want to cross there. But we're really not asking the district to cross that line. We just want help with informing parents that this even exists. And so basically, you know, we just want parents to know that if they are interested in holding out on a smartphone, that they won't be alone. There are 330 families in the district who have signed this pledge, so it's a pretty sizable number, and we just want parents to know that they wouldn't be alone. And so I know that, like, there's coming up, there's kindergarten information nights coming up, there's the book fairs coming up, spring book fairs. And so what I'm requesting is that we would be able to have an information table there just to discuss this with parents and spread the word about it, basically. And I really also think that we wanted to request that just a short blurb be allowed to be included in either like a school newsletter or a district newsletter, just telling parents that this is even happening, that it's out there. I've been told one of the reasons that we haven't been able to do this in the past.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yes.
Over 3, so if you want to wrap up.
Yes, I will wrap up. I've been told that we haven't been allowed to do this because we're considered like an outside organization. But we're really not an organization. We're just like a small group of parents using like grassroots methods to get the word out about this, and we just could really use the district's help. So finally, just to wrap up, you know, given that smartphones, you know, delaying them really supports the mental health of students, their academics, their relationship building, it really just feels like this pledge is something that the district should be informing parents about. Again, we're not asking the district to like explicitly encourage parents to take this pledge. I understand that that crosses a line. We're just asking for help informing parents that it's out there. 330 families, it's a pretty sizable number, and it's growing, and so we just feel that it's the responsibility of the district to let families know that this is happening in our district, and we could use your help. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Thanks for your comments tonight.
Sure.
All right, next we'll move to our consent agenda. We have the consideration of resolutions 25009 personnel report, the 25010 payroll warrants, the 25011 vendor warrants, and the 25012 press issue 117 board policy update. Can I have a motion and a second to approve? Because
I have a question.
okay. Would you like to take
I was-
one off the consent, or?
No, I had a question about one of the press items, and I don't expect anyone to know the answer, but it'd be kind of cool if we looked into it.
Sure.
There's one of the changes, this was in the summary, it said, made it so that you didn't have to go to a referendum to build build or acquire space for a kindergarten, if you wanted to have a kindergarten. Did you? And then also offered some changes to debt service for similar, I don't know if it was for that purpose or more generally. And I was just, I think it's too late for us, but I'm always interested, like, if they've loosened things on debt service, if there's something we can use, you know, to our advantage in the future from a flexibility standpoint. I don't know if anyone knew any more about what that change was.
Well, I mean, the change coincides with mandated full-day
Yeah, I figured that,
kindergarten
yeah.
programming. What I've often thought about, and Eric, you and I should probably talk a little bit more about this, is to just inquire about maybe the retroactivity. If there's anything, if there's any movement or something that allows us to
Yeah.
regain debt service or whatever it may be, I think is worth pursuing.
Anytime it comes up, it's worth taking, just, or at least asking someone like, I don't know if Elizabeth would be the right person, like, would this affect us materially? Is this a tool we could use in the future?
Do you recall which policy it was in press? Or was this in press, right?
Yeah, it was in the summary. I couldn't find the actual details of the change to the language.
I know which one you're referring to. I'm not going to remember the number.
It's early in the summary thing. And I assumed it was because of all the screaming and yelling over the full day kindergarten.
Yeah,
So, yeah,
I'm sure
a
it's
relief
a lot of districts that don't have ability to actually issue debt, but they have to build buildings within
Yeah.
the next 2 years.
So, yeah, I wanted to bring it up and see if we could investigate just a
Sure, we will.
touch to see if there's something we could use in the future, or even retroactively, I mean.
I'm all for that.
Yeah.
But let's approve the policies so that we could do it.
Totally approve it.
I'm
I'm
just-
just- sure, sure.
All right, may I have a motion and a second to approve the consent agenda?
So moved, Kimilovich.
Second, Dolan.
Can I have a roll call, Gabby?
Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kemilevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Supos.
Motion carries. Yeah, Eric, ask Liz or something. I mean, that'd be great if we could get some more DSEP.
Yeah, I have a feeling those were put in place for the districts that maybe they didn't want to force to go out for referendum and forced to jump through these hoops and get.
Yeah,
no,
but
we'll
there's
ask-
unintended consequences.
That's right.
Look into. Next, we have our consideration of other resolutions, discussion and action section. We have the 25013, 2025, 2028 General Education Transportation Contract. Eric?
Yeah, we put this on here just in case there were any additional questions or comments, but I don't have any further information at this time.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions? If not, I'll ask for a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved. Dolan.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kemilevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Motion carries. Next, we have the 25014, 2025, 2026 Special Education Transportation Contract Extension.
That's right. Same goes for this one. Also a longstanding relationship now with Safeway, and this is a one-year extension as we reviewed last month.
Can I ask a question? How long has this extension been, like, from our original contract?
I'd have to look, but I want to say,
Is
It
this
says
like,
2018.
is that what it says? Okay.
April 2018
Okay.
was the original.
The initial,
First
which,
one started?
yeah, so this will be like the 8th year? 7th year?
yeah.
Okay. All right, may I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved, Kimilovich.
Second, Moon.
Gabby, may I have a roll call vote?
Nelson.
Aye.
Kemilevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have the 25015, 2025, 2026 staffing allocations.
So these are the same total FTE that was presented to the board in February for both certified and support staff. Some small alterations to where things are listed just due to the details around the preschool for all grant. And then the board also has the administrative staffing recommendations, which are the same as this year.
Any questions or comments? I just want to make a point that if we get like a bunch more kids, our staffing allocations will change, correct?
It could, sure. We would respond.
Thanks. Can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved. Baumstark.
Second, Dolan.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Supos. Nelson.
Aye.
Kemilevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Motion carries. We have the 25016, action to honorably dismiss and reassign a part-time teacher. Kevin?
We have a retiring GEA president, and this necessitates some movement of a part-time staff into a full-time role.
Can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved, Moon.
Second. Baumstark.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Kemilevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Motion carries. Now we have the 25017 Panorama contract.
This is a renewal contract for our universal screening for social and emotional learning that we conduct 3 times a year with students. It helps us build our responsive system, addressing those needs, and so this, again, is a renewal. We've been very happy with the service.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
It's a 3-year contract,
It is a
right?
3-year contract.
Not a per-year calculation, this is total contract value?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is, yeah.
If no comments or questions, can I have a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented?
So moved, Dolan.
Second, Baumstark.
Gabby, may I have a roll call vote?
Moon,
Aye.
Dolan,
Aye.
Nelson,
Aye.
Kimmalevich,
Aye.
Baumstark,
Aye.
Supos.
Motion carries. Now we have the 25018 electricity bid. Steve?
Good evening. I'll be asking the board shortly to approve a new electricity contract. Our current 3-year contract is set to expire. Back in February, an invitation was sent out on our behalf by Symmetry, which is our electricity broker. And at that time, we received 4 companies quoted us on 12, 24, and 36-month contracts. We actually got a refreshed pricing this morning. At that time, AEP was the lowest, and they were actually, again, the lowest this morning. So I would recommend the board approve a 36-month contract with AEP for electric services.
Does anyone have any questions or comments?
Just on the bottom where it says capacity will be passed through, like how big of a price charge is that? Is that like a big issue going on right now with capacity?
It is a very big issue that's going on right now. So PJM, which is the governing agency that ComEd falls underneath it, went out for auction back in the fall, right before the elections. And because of all the uncertainty, the capacity pricing went way high. Extremely elevated. Everyone's saying it was a fluke thing, but that's being passed on to everybody that uses ComEd, including us at home, unfortunately. So the contract for 36 months, the first year it's being passed on. Year 2 and 3, we're not locking into the capacity charge because at the advice of our broker, they're assuming that the capacity charge will go down. As soon as it goes down this fall, we can lock in for year 2 and 3.
I'm just trying to get a sense of the relative magnitude. These are what, 6.7 cents per kilowatt hour. How much is the capacity charge relative to that?
The capacity charge based on our usage for the year is $115,000.
Okay.
Is that just this year?
That's just this year.
Do you have any institutional knowledge what it's been in the past? Like,
I do not have that number, what it's been in the past. It's been significantly lower. I can get some paperwork on it if you like for me to pass on some paperwork.
Because typically that's just something you can lock in, but because it's priced so high right now, this is like a new way to approach it, is to let it float kind of and let it maybe lock it in later once it comes back down. Is that
Correct. That's what the suggestion is, to wait till it comes down. They go out in the fall for the next year. So when they go out for auction this upcoming fall, the capacity price goes down. We can lock in for year 2 and 3 at that time.
and everyone's having this issue with capacity, correct?
Everybody that has ComEd will be having this issue.
And they're our supplier, right? I mean, generally,
Correct.
Well, ComEd is the distributor, right? They also
Distributor.
They also
Yeah.
have a distribution charge, but this capacity charge is different than that, right?
This is by PJM, which is the governing agency that ComEd falls under. So they pass it on to ComEd, and ComEd passes it on to all their customers.
I see how that works.
And the pass-through, that would be the same price no matter which bidder we chose here.
Correct. Well, actually, yeah, it would probably be a little higher with the other bidders that were slightly higher. AEP's capacity charge was the lowest also.
because it's probably based on the rate you're paying too.
Okay. It sounds like that'd be an important piece too, like to know, because that's
Correct.
not, so this quote doesn't include the capacity charge. This is just the.
No, that quote does not include the capacity charge. But it is .0013 less than our previous three-year contract per kilowatt hour. So there's some good news.
But you're saying AEP, the recommended provider also has the lowest capacity pass-through charge?
Correct.
So, okay.
Well, we look forward to definitely hearing that the capacity charges are lower and perhaps maybe negotiate a contract for the extension.
I will do that. When we find out that number in the fall, I'll bring it to you guys.
Any other questions or comments? I mean, these are the vagaries of commercial electricity, correct?
Pardon?
This is commercial electricity. This is how it's priced.
That's it.
And interestingly, you get a lower price by locking in longer.
Yeah.
Because of the Contango or whatever that is.
Okay. I'm not even sure what we use to generate it around here. Nuclear, gas, oil. All right, is there any more questions or? Yeah.
I'm good with the recommend.
Can we have a motion and a second to approve the electricity bid is presented for a 3-year contract with AEP?
So moved, Kimmelevich.
Second, Baumstark.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kimmelevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Motion carries. Now we have the 25009 roof installation contract.
Okay, at this time, I'd like to call up Justin Reed from the Garland Group. So we're actually nearing the end of our referendum phases, and the last phase of work this summer is re-roof and recoating at 6 of our schools. Garland Group has been our roofing consultant for past 6 or 7 years, and we use them to purchase the material and labor through the Omnia Co-op, similar to what we did when we did Atia's roof a couple years ago. So the contract, they hold the contract with the roofer. What I'm asking tonight is the board approve the contract between District 34 and the Garland Group for all the roofing work to be done this summer.
Any questions? So this is the sum of referendum work, correct?
This is referendum work.
Okay. Because I remember like the Atia roof wasn't necessarily referendum work.
It was, but that was an emergency because it blew
Correct.
off.
We just moved it up.
We had to, yes.
All right. Any questions or comments? If not, I ask for a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented.
Scott, I just have one question.
Go ahead, James.
So with the scope of the work, are there any risks that we need to be aware of prior to the summer, given, like, there's probably going to be some sensitivities? Do we have materials? Do we have any timing issues that we need to navigate across any of the schools as we finish Phase 4? Or is that kind of all baked into what our plan is so that there's no issues with everything starting up in the fall on the ascribed date?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know of any issues with material. If there's any lead time issues, Justin might be able to answer that a little better.
No, we're all set, we're locked in, but everything's readily available and all pricing and everything's locked in.
And we've gone over the schedule with the contractor, and they're able to meet it.
All right, well, they're probably up next, so we'll see if they can confirm that. All right.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. I will ask for a motion and a second to approve the resolution as presented.
So moved. Baumstark.
Second, Kimmelevich.
Gabby, may I have a roll call?
Dolan.
Aye.
Nelson.
Aye.
Kimmelevich.
Aye.
Baumstark.
Aye.
Supos. Moon.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have our discussion section. We have our interfund transfer from the Ed Fund to the O&M Fund.
Thank you. And if I can call my associates up, Mr. Dave Torres, Mr. Troy Kerr from FGM, and Dave is from Nicholas. Just as a reminder, this is about interfund transfers, but it's also about looking to the finish line for all of the referendum-approved construction work. And so I will touch on some number aspects in terms of what we're looking at, and for the final estimated construction cost and some transfers, these guys are going to help fill in some of the gaps. as it relates to their area. So again, for this agenda item, we're ultimately asking the board for 2 transfers. The first is from the Ed Fund to O&M. Anytime you take money from the Ed Fund to O&M or transportation, it's one time, non-reoccurring, and you have to hold a hearing. So as a part of this agenda item, we're asking the board to approve the resolution, which sets a hearing for next month. So next month, we'll ask for a vote on both of these transfers. So, yeah, Ed to O&M for $8.5 million, and then a second one. So that $8.5 million comes from the Ed, sits in O&M for just a minute until we move on to the next transfer agenda item, and that'll take the full $11 million from O&M to capital projects to finish up both the roof work and the additional monies that we needed to wrap the project up. Here I have the original cost estimate of $155 million and what the board's contribution was. The target, at the time the board asked us to try and nail when things in the economy were good before the pandemic hit. And now what we're saying is our total estimated project cost, $166.5, minus $2 million in grants and rebates and things like that, bringing our total net cost to $164.5, which has a board contribution of $36.3 million. Now, a little bit about what led to that overage and what we've seen over the last phase and maybe year and a half or so since we last approached this board with the last round of bids that you guys approved.
Sure. Well, good evening. For those that don't know me, Dave Torres with Nicholas & Associates. Just kind of recapping all of the referendum work. As most people know at this table, the initial budget was established before the pandemic. And so when the pandemic hit, we really felt the impact as we approached kind of phases 2 and 3 of the project. So we had several project issuances along the way. First project issuance, we did well. Second project issuance was post-COVID, so we were really feeling that impact, and then as a result had to make some pretty significant pivots as it pertains to design, and really, looking at this in terms of the complexity of the series of projects. There's just a lot of things that have to be taken into consideration when you look at the cost of construction over the last 5 years. It's no secret that we experienced a lot of changes in the market. And then anytime on these type of projects, when you have really intense interior renovation projects, unforeseen conditions, we're tearing buildings apart, we never know what we're going to find. So we do carry, some contingencies in our projects, but we can never fully know exactly what we're going to encounter. And I know specifically on a handful of these jobs, we had some pretty major unforeseen conditions, structural in nature, that really had some larger impacts to the project in terms of total dollars spent. In addition to that, kind of going down this list here, some value-added scope. As we talked through each phase of these projects, we did some budgeting along the way, but the consideration of what scope was to be included was part of our regular conversation and updates to the board throughout the process. So, we had, at the time, when we had redesigned Springman, we had created an alternate for the cafeteria to raise the floor, and that was, about a $1.2 million add, but we decided as a group that was going to be the best fit for the space, and so that's kind of how we moved forward. So that was an example of kind of a value add and decision that was made during the design and in the bidding timeline. In addition to that, we had some added scope along the way. There were some toilet rooms that weren't necessarily part of the original design, but we added them here or not here, but at Springman. In addition, along at each milestone, at each project issuance, we kind of projected where we would end up as part of the next bid issuance. And so, specifically with some of the roofing projects, we kind of projected out what we thought would be required to complete all the roofing work. We did learn that due to some code requirements, what we had thought, there was going to be some additional installation requirements at Lion that, maybe Troy can talk a little bit more about, but that, was another $1 million or so that was added to the overall project costs that wasn't necessarily anticipated during the last update. Additionally, increase in furniture costs, and this kind of goes along the lines with one of the other slides that we have, but if you want to go ahead and move that along. That second bullet point, material commodity price increases. There's a lot of words on this slide and a lot of numbers, so I won't go through all of it. But in general, from an estimating standpoint, back in 2019, 2020, when we looked at interior renovation costs, we utilized at a high level, $100 to $250 a square foot for high, medium, and low, or heavy, light, and medium renovation. And then for new construction, which is your building additions, new schools, et cetera, we were using a $300 to $350 square foot number. Now, in 2024 and in 2025, those numbers have increased, by 40 to 60% with the renovation costs, and 30 to 35% for new construction. So this is just, again, feeling the impact initially in 22 and 23, but then seeing it sustained. I mean, cost of construction is still high. We have seen some fluctuation in the material and commodity prices, but again, the biggest increases were kind of seen and felt in that 2022 and 2023. So you can kind of see some of that here in the trends that we've identified between copper, lumber, and steel. This is just kind of a graph that shows some of our price per square foot as it pertains to similar projects that we've bid over the years. Some of them are specific to full-day kindergarten, but primarily focused, on those addition projects that were completed at the 4 buildings. But you can see, based on the timeline, back in 2019 and 2020, we saw a much lower cost per square foot for all-in, which is inclusive of the hard building costs, the design costs, all the fees, and everything. And we've just seen a really significant increase overall between years 22 and 23 and 24. Some of these projects have started to level off, but they're still much higher than the initial budget that was established before the pandemic.
Yeah, so to Dave's point, I think when you look back at where we started in 2019, when we were planning for the referendum and we were looking into the crystal ball and trying to predict what all of this stuff was going to cost and what this work was going to look like, we were playing with a different set of assumptions than what ended up happening during the course of it. But all told, I think we had a lot of success. So just a couple of things to look at, some of the transformative changes that have happened to the buildings, particularly Springman, over the course of that 5-year period, I think are some decisions that were made by the board that are really going to have an enormous impact on the district for a long time to come. So it's, Dave specifically mentioned the cafeteria at Springman, I think is one of the gems of that transformative process.
Thanks. Any questions or comments?
So just 2 more slides. As a reminder of everything we just went over and the overage from what we initially had thought, just a reminder that based on the board's action in terms of moving quickly and taking advantage of historically low interest rates, reminder is that based on what we had initially said, estimated by Liz Hennessy, at the end of the day, we ended up saving about $37 million to the community in interest. And I think that that reminder's good right about now when a couple extra dollars are being included to going toward wrapping this project up. So again, initial funding that's needed is $11 million. In CFAC's projection, I think we said 8.5 coming from fund balance. What's actually coming from ed fund balance is $6 million. And then we've got $5 million coming from the current year budget. We do think that we're going to underutilize $2.5 million in special projects from O&M that we will pick up next year, and cumulatively in the ed fund as of right now, and reflected in your current year projection report, $2.5 million from the ed fund. So a little bit less of a hit to the fund balance, if you will, than we had thought, which is always a good thing. So the total of the transfers will come out to $34 million. And again, just to bring it all back, what we're asking the board to approve, have a hearing for and approve next month, these 2 transfers that you see on your screen tonight.
And these will be 2 separate resolutions, correct?
Yes.
And I want to remind everybody that when we levy, we always levy more into the ed fund, and because it gives us more flexibility for teaching in the long run, correct?
That's right.
And we've done this before in the past.
We have.
I also want to point out that when Dave was here in 2019 and we were talking about this, what was your contingency percentage back then? Was it about 15%?
So we had initially carried about 5% per project, and then,
But we asked you to cut it down.
correct, to about 2.5.
Right. So the contingency that you presented would have covered a lot of this overage.
Correct.
But the board felt like we wanted to take advantage of some efficiencies we saw in the economy before COVID hit. Remember that, Jim? Well, I mean, you guys did a pretty good job. I appreciate all the work.
I'll say more than pretty good.
Well, if you could find $5 million for us, it'd be great. Okay. Any other questions? We'll see this again next month.
I just want to make a comment, like, there's a lot of, this is very complex, right? At the end of the day, this is a multi-year project, multiple facilities. The transformation that you can experience across all of the schools is frankly remarkable, as somebody who went through several of those schools growing up. To suggest that 5 years ago we'd be within 10%, and there's a global supply chain disruption with the pandemic, and yes, we had to make some choices about some of the ambition that was in the original plan, but we also took advantage of some of the financial instruments that we had to enable some savings and still have an excellent product at the end. I think it really goes to everybody involved, from the administration to you and all of your teams, the board, that we're only having a conversation about an additional transfer at this magnitude and not a much more, grave situation in terms of how we would be able to finish this project. So I want to make that comment. I think it's pretty remarkable where we are. It's not a small number. It's not an insignificant appreciation for what has been asked of, but was also supported by our community. And it's good to see that we're still being good stewards all the way through to the finish line.
Well said, James. All right, thanks very much, you guys. This is probably one of the last few times you'll be here, right? I know.
There's an open invite, though.
You'll be back. You'll be back.
Thank you so much. It's been great working with you. We are at our second opportunity for audience comments. Anyone wishing to address the board can submit a comment card available at the check-in table and give it to the Executive Director of Communications and Strategic Planning. The Executive Director will call community members who submit cards forward. They will be asked to introduce themselves and describe their relationship to the district. Please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and know the board will be taking notes, but will be in listening mode only, and an appropriate response will be given in a timely manner. Rebecca, do we have any comments?
We have one, John Carlisle.
Thank you.
Good evening again. John Carlisle, resident, children who are students at Westbrook and Glen Grove. I'll be brief. I'd like to thank the representatives of firms who have business with the district who were here tonight, either because they were approved for a new contract, or they are there's an important financial decision that is being made that pertains to them. I think that's good practice, good business. Glad to see that. But I'll point out that not everyone who was awarded a contract had a representative here tonight. One of those firms, we have been a customer of theirs since, I believe, 2014. It doesn't instill the greatest confidence in me or for me that this firm feels held accountable. It doesn't send a great message. Thank you.
Thank you very much. All All right, next we are going to our report section. We have the number 1 FOIA report, number 2 referendum expense report, number 3 construction change order report, the number 4 current year financial projections, and the number 5 following meeting agenda. Does anybody have any questions on the reports? Any other business? Oh, go ahead.
I have something to share.
Oh, I can't wait.
So I was really lucky a couple weeks ago to get invited to help judge the 5th grade debate. You were there, yeah. And the subject of the debate was whether or not, this was at Hoffman, whether or not the students there should have homework. And I just want to say, I want to give some kudos to the team there. It was great. It was really wonderful. The kids were really well prepared, and they did rebuttals, like on the fly, like they cited stuff in the rebuttals. Like people at work sometimes can't do that. So, and then I also want to report at the end, they first polled the students, and no homework won overwhelmingly among the students. And then they polled the panel, who were all adults except for one a young gentleman who's a student at Springman, and the panel voted for homework.
Oh.
So perhaps no changes to policy yet, but I just wanted to call out the school for doing a great job, and it was a ton of fun, and I'm really happy I was able to go.
Thanks for going, Alex, also.
Pleasure.
That's great. Oh, I guess I want to report that I attended the IASB North Cook divisional meeting, and we were awarded the School Board Governance Award again for another 2 years. So congratulations for all of us for doing our work. And we've done this now for twice, so we got to do it again. Thanks. Any other business? No? If not, we're adjourned.